If you have ever defined yourself as an overthinker, this episode is for you. Welcome to Tools to Manifest Your Dream Life with myself, Glenyce Hughes. Thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. This episode is an invitation to a brand new coaching program that I have just created. I'm so excited. It is called Clarity on Demand. It is a 3-month one-to-one coaching program that gives you support when you need it in real time. We start off with a kickoff call, then you receive short, focused calls to stop you from spiraling and get into action. This is practical support where I will show you the next action step to take, which will help you to regulate and rewire and create the magic you've been asking for. The link with details is above or below. If you don't see a link, reach out and I will get it for you. Let's talk about overthinking. Many people judge themselves as overthinking and they think it's maybe a flaw or just a bad habit that they have. But something that most people don't realize is that overthinking is a sign that your nervous system is dysregulated. When your system doesn't feel safe, it's going to keep looping. It's scanning for danger. It's trying to predict the future. It runs every scenario possible. It pulls up every possible mistake. That is not a bad mindset. That is physiology. Your brain can't choose the next step when your body is in threat state. Indecision is a form of protection. Procrastination is a form of protection. Avoidance is a form of protection. Your nervous system is saying, hold on, this feels risky, let's slow down. So you don't move, you don't start, and you tell yourself that something is wrong with you. That was Olive, the sweet little kitty. Nothing is wrong with you. Your system is dysregulated. That's it. When your system is regulated, clarity comes back. You make faster choices. You feel more like yourself. You take action without the internal fight. This is why forcing yourself rarely works. And if it does, it's only for a short period of time. Trying to push through biology. What works though is actually shifting the state first. One of the things that I talk about a lot is what I call a rewiring breath. So where you're breathing in through your nose for a count of 4, you're holding it for 2, and you're breathing out through your mouth for a count of 6. You don't even have to do it that many times to get regulated. It is such a quick and simple way, and you can pretty much do it anywhere. You're gonna breathe anyway. You might as well do a rewiring breath to really contribute to you in that moment, especially if you're in the cycle of overthinking. Now, for some people, just going and doing something completely different, if that's possible. Maybe you could go for a short walk outside. Maybe you could go pet an animal if you have one handy. You could do a check-in with a coach or a friend just to shift the moment. When you reset your state, your thinking resets with that. A couple of years ago, I went through what I didn't know what to call it at the time. I really didn't have words other than it felt like I was walking through quicksand. Every choice I had to make felt hard. Every business task that I thought I should do, I wasn't doing. There was nothing. I even stopped this podcast for, I don't remember exactly, but probably over a year. I would do one every once in a while, and it wasn't even until this year, 2025, that things started to shift. What I didn't realize was that was my nervous system. I had burnt myself out. My nervous system was so dysregulated, and it wasn't until I started regulating it on a regular basis that it actually started to change. And now I am living again. That's the best way to put it. I feel like I'm living again. That is such a gift to feel like that again, like living again. And I know outwardly it probably didn't appear to anybody what I was going through because I wasn't telling many people, but I did have a support system. I did have people that I talked to, and of course, different techniques that I used to start regulating, to even recognizing when I was dysregulated is huge so that I can choose to regulate in those moments. With the right support, we can easily get back on track because it isn't a lack of intelligence. It's a nervous system response. And it's important to know this because so many people make their stuckness part of their identity. I'm an overthinker. I'm indecisive. I can't trust myself. I'm bad at follow through. None of that is true. You are running a survival response that your system likely learned years ago. The good news, it is changeable. And when you learn how to regulate, you make clearer choices and take clearer action steps. This is the heart of the work that I do with my clients. We shift the state so your clarity comes back. Then we choose the next step from spaciousness, from clarity, not from a fear loop. If you have been stuck from spiraling or looping in your head, it is not a flaw. It is your system asking for support and safety. When you receive that, you start moving again. And if you're like me, you start loving living again. Now let's even go deeper here because a lot of times people assume that with overthinking, if you work harder, you can actually change it or fix it. But think about that. If working harder actually fixed overthinking, it would have been fixed years ago. Again, overthinking is just a signal. It is not a flaw. It is your system's way of saying, I don't feel safe choosing yet. So instead of efforting or working harder, the real work is actually getting present and learning what your system actually responds to. For some people, that's breath work. For some people, that's movement. For some, it is stillness. For some, it's connection. For some, it is data and clarity and structure. And for most of us, it's some of all of those at different times. Every system has its own language. And the more that you learn yours, the faster that you will shift out of those loops. So something that I suggest trying this week is that when you catch yourself in that loop, in that overthinking, get present and ask yourself, what part of me doesn't feel steady right now? Not what's wrong with me. Why am I like this? Why can't I just do the thing? Those questions activate shame, and shame fuels overthinking. So you stay stuck for longer. When you ask yourself, what part of me doesn't feel steady right now, it does the exact opposite. It moves you into observation instead of judgment. And observation is regulating. Maybe you'll notice that you're scared you'll make the wrong choice. Or maybe you'll notice that you're actually carrying someone else's expectations. Maybe you'll notice that you're overwhelmed. Maybe you'll notice that you're tired. Maybe you'll notice that you're rushing. Maybe you'll notice that you're trying to be perfect. And once again, none of those are personal failures. They are just signals. I remember years ago, I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and she was a fairly new friend, and I was talking about some struggles that I was having, and she said, wow, you are so lucky. And I was like, huh? And she said, well, look at all the information you're receiving from those experiences. And it totally turned it upside down for me because I was really in the judgment of going through those struggles and those experiences. And she really had this way of looking at things going, wow, this is great information. This is great information that I still play small in this situation, or I still people please in this situation, or whatever it was. So instead of judging it, when we can observe it and actually be aware of what it is, which is the gift of a signal, the gift of information, the gift of taking a moment to recognize that we're tired and maybe we need a nap or maybe we need a break, rather than that shame cycle that just keeps us stuck. Now, I know I've said it a few times throughout this episode, but I really want you to hear me. Overthinking is a pattern that you learned as safety, usually while you're growing up. If chaos was normal, you learned to predict. If you were criticized often, Your brain learned to rehearse. If you weren't allowed to make mistakes, your brain learned to freeze. If emotions weren't safe, your brain learned to think instead of feel. You didn't choose these patterns. You adapted. And think of it this way. You learned those patterns, which means you can unlearn them. You can choose something different, not by force, but by safety and repetition, which is the piece that most people skip. Now let's talk about mental clarity and energetic clarity, because they are not the same thing. Mental clarity is, I know the step to take. Energetic clarity is, I feel safe taking that step. You need both. You've probably, like me, had many moments in your life where you knew exactly what to do, but didn't do it. So I repeat myself, this is not a mindset problem. This is an energetic one. When your system feels safe and steady, the step is easy. When your system feels threatened, the smallest steps feel massive. If you have been judging yourself for knowing what to do, but not doing it, it is time to set that judgment down. Your nervous system is asking for support. That's it. And let's normalize something else. You are not meant to regulate alone all the time. Humans co-regulate. We are wired for it. We settle faster when someone around us is steady. Our system borrows their regulation. I remember a friend telling me a few years ago about her son, and he had recently got a new girlfriend, and the girlfriend just loved spending time with him. And he didn't really understand it because he did a lot of stuff working on trucks and things like that. He thought she'd be kind of bored hanging out with him in the shop while he's doing this stuff. And what she said to him is, I just feel better when I'm with you. And to me, that's what it's like when somebody else's system is regulated and we're with them, we will match that. The same way, of course, if somebody is dysregulated, if we're not aware of it, we can dysregulate with them. So it is truly about just being aware of it. Doesn't mean you should cut people out of your life or anything like that, but just recognize that if you require the support, lean on that person who's regulated in that moment. And if you recognize somebody's dysregulated, be the support for them in that moment. Which also brings me to my invitation once again. I would love for you to come and join Clarity on Demand, because in the program, you will not sit alone while you're spiraling. You get short, focused calls when you need them and support that helps you shift your state and take the next step without the internal fight. If you are tired of looping, tired of stopping, tired of trying to push through, and you've been asking for support that actually meets you where you are, I would love to have you inside Clarity on Demand. The link is above or below. If you don't see a link, reach out and I will get it for you. Have a beautiful week, sweet friends. I look forward to chatting again next week.